Hi guys, Victoria here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to 2023. Happy New Year. This means I finished my low buy slash no buy year of 2022, and today I'm bringing you the December check-in as well as the wrap up of this series. This is the last video of this series that I'm making about my low buy slash no buy from last year. Let's go through, let's discuss my experiences. How did the low buy slash no buy go? Did I go over budget? Did I stay within budget? Did I achieve my goals? How do I evaluate this challenge that I was going through for 12 months? How can babies make such loud noises? I always wonder. Such tiny things! So why did I do this low buy slash no buy in the first place? Basically, I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to try, but it was never the right time because I was always moving to a new place, and when you move to a new place, you always need a lot of new things. Just like a lot of life changes are happening, so it was just not something that I can do. I needed some kind of a stability in order to be able to do a no buy, and so I finally reached that in 2022. But at the same time, I was unemployed at the beginning of the year of 2022, figuring out what are my next steps with my career, where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do, how much I'm gonna earn. So I was receiving only unemployment benefits, which were only a proportion of my previous income. So obviously I had to be more mindful about what I'm spending the money on. My fixed costs, of course, I couldn't cut on, so I had to lower my discretionary spending, which is on all the other things which are not fixed, like my rent or my heating and electricity of the apartment or insurance and so on and so forth. So I was never really a shopaholic or someone who would go to the stores, to shopping centers just for fun, just to look around and window shop and maybe buy something which I don't really need, I just liked, or I just wanted on the whim. I try to avoid purchases which were not planned, especially with more expensive things. So I never really had an issue of overbuying, I don't think, or overspending. I just wanted to rationalize it and kind of have a stricter budget than I had in the years before. Also to challenge myself and to see if I can live on less if I needed to and if I wanted to. That was one thing, but also just to save up more money, and rather than spending it on physical items, spend it on experiences or save it up for future goals. My income was definitely lower at the beginning of the year as the years before, and then later on I kind of built that up. I started my own business and I started a new part-time job. So my income level is now back up, and it's actually probably higher than before, but I still am figuring out the taxes, because as self-employed I will have to pay the taxes next year for last year. So of course, so far it looks very good because I only had the income. I didn't have to really pay taxes. I had to pay social security services like health insurance and some other types of insurance related to this, like pension fund money and all that kind of things. Even that I'm not 100% sure about the total sum that I was supposed to pay for this year, because they will be calculating it based on my annual review of my finances and accounting, and based on the final report they will tell me, okay, so you pay this much in 2022 and you owe us this much for 2022, so I might need to pay some extra, or I might have an allowance with them. We'll see. This is something that I still need to experience, so I didn't want to, assume that, oh, I'm doing so well. There is a lot of money that I can spend on all these other things. Rather, I wanted to figure out and have experience with exactly how much I will own the state. So yeah, I was just careful with that and trying to be mindful of my expenses. So I decided, yeah, it's the perfect year. Let's do it. Let's do a no buy / low buy. Let's keep a strict budget. And I'm not gonna do this for 2023, but I'm still gonna keep budgeting, and I'm still gonna have for all my categories and some more, of course, a set amount budgeted, but I will not be so aware of it maybe, or so strict with myself as I was with these 8 categories that I have chosen for myself for 2022. And yeah, as I said, I was never really a shopaholic, and I did kind of unintentional no buys in my past when I was moving around and I lived in countries which were quite expensive, or where I moved with 2 pieces of luggage and I didn't have space to purchase any more items, because then otherwise I will not be able to bring back my stuff. So this was not an unusual thing for me to lower my expenses or to pay attention to my expenses. So let's go through the 8 categories and how I did within these 8 categories in the year of 2022 and also in December, because this is also my checkup for the last months of the year. The first category in which I had a low buy was groceries. I used to have a 50 euros per week budget for groceries, and this year I decided to do a 200 euros per month, which is overall a bit lower, and actually I did very well. If I compare my grocery spending with last year, it actually grew a little bit. Last year I spent 2,080 euros on groceries in the whole year, and this year I spent 2,151 rounded up, which is 70 euros more. But there is actually quite an easy explanation for this. I was 5 weeks in Tokyo at the Olympic Games last year between July and August, and during this period I didn't have to buy any kind of grocery item. I didn't have to get any food, not takeout, nor groceries, nothing. For 5 weeks, I received full board breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and any kind of snack in between what I wanted in the Olympic Village. So that time, of course, I saved a lot of money. And I also started the year of 2021 in January. I started the year January and beginning of February. I was in Hungary with my parents. It was lockdown, so I was staying there, and of course when I was living with them my grocery budget was much lower because I only had to contribute to the common budget that we had, the 3 of us. So that is why this year my total spending is higher, but I still stayed very well within my budget of 200 euros per month. In the month of December, I only spent 128 euros and 71 cents, which is way below the budget. This was actually the lowest spending month in this year. Reason for that, I spent 3/4 of this month away from my apartment here in Vienna. I was traveling a little bit, and I was also back home with my family. So again, when I was with my family, I was not the only one who was contributing to the grocery budget, and it was actually mostly my mom in this case. Overall, then, the 2,151 euro spending that I had in the year of 2021 equals to 180 euros on average per month in the whole year, which is definitely lower than what I was budgeting for, which was 200 euros per month, especially considering the inflation and that some grocery items cost 2, 3, even 4 times as much as they used to, like just a year ago. This is a success, I would say, and considering that I did so well, I might be continuing to have this same budget for next year, for 2023. Well, let's see how the whole inflation is gonna continue after this. What I definitely was more aware of is really the price of each product that I'm buying. I was always shopping with a list. I always meal plan, so I know exactly what I need to buy, what I already have at home. I try to meal plan based on what I actually have at home, so that I only had to purchase a few other items that were missing to make that certain meal or meals. I don't buy meat that much. Fish, yes, and fish is also quite expensive, but I also don't buy fish very frequently. Most of the time I try to buy it when it's on sale, but this actually applies to everything. So if something is on sale that I like to purchase, then I buy it on sale, then I buy multiples on sale. If I can store it for longer, then obviously I buy multiples. If I can freeze it, then I can also buy multiple. Yeah, if I have space in my freezer, of course. That is a limit that I have, unfortunately. My freezer is not that big, but for a one-person household it should be enough. Sometimes I reach that limit, but that's just a good thing actually, because I'm trying to save money as well as save on food waste with freezing stuff. So it's a win-win situation. Sometimes I just have to focus on kind of cleaning out my freezer and working on the things that I'm storing in the freezer. But definitely that is how I try to lower my budget in the grocery category. I also were trying to buy the cheapest possible option from everything, considering whether or not it is a bio-organic version or not. If the bio-organic is not much more expensive than the generic one, then I opt for the bio-organic one, but not always. Sometimes it happens that the bio-organic one is the same price or even cheaper than the generic one accidentally when that version is on sale while the generic one is not on sale. So I always price compare. I opt for store brands as well, especially with generic products like beans. Yeah, these are the kind of tips for keeping your grocery budget low. I was planning in the beginning of the year to do maybe a vegan month or like a vegan period where I only eat vegan for 4 weeks or whatever, 40 days. This has not happened. Last year, this was one of the challenges for myself that I didn't really even start. Actually, it was just like lifestyle-wise, not really, just didn't work out. Wasn't very convenient. You know, having a partner who eats meat and then you don't, and then always like forcing them to eat vegan or whatever. So like I just didn't want to do that. So that didn't happen. Maybe this year, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it. It would be a good idea. Then I did a dry January, because in the grocery budget it's also my alcohol budget, which I buy in a supermarket. I did a dry January. I didn't buy any alcohol for probably January and February from a grocery store, and there were a few other months when I didn't buy at all alcohol, and somehow I still have quite a big stack of alcohol at home at the moment as well. Like I have wine and prosecco and Aperol and gin. Well, some of it I got it as presents as well. So next year I am trying to lower my alcohol consumption overall. I'm doing dry January again, and I'm going to try to spend less money on alcohol than last year. I don't know exactly what my alcohol spending was because it's included in my grocery budget, so maybe I should take the alcohol out from my grocery budget just to see how much I spend on it, to shock myself a little bit maybe, because it kind of gets lost within the grocery budget. Another thing that I did is that I did a few pantry challenges and freezer clean out challenges when I was trying to not buy anything for a period of time, like any grocery items, and that it also definitely helped to keep my budget at this level. Alright then, second budgeting category or second low buy category was gifts, and in this category I did very, very well compared to 2021. In 2021, I spent on birthday gifts and other like miscellaneous gifts for people, like souvenirs and whatever type of gifts. I spent 453 euros and 88 cents. And then on Christmas last year, I spent 880 euros. And I also attended 2 weddings where I spent over 300 euros on gifts. So my spending in 2021 was over 1,700 euros on gifts overall, and that is why I decided, okay, this is way too high, I need to lower this. And so this year in 2022 I spent overall 316 euros and 17 cents on gifts like birthday presents and stuff like that. My budget was 30 euros per month, and I was definitely below that budget. This in the month of December I spent quite a lot. It was my second highest spending month when it comes to the gifts category. I spent 78 euros and 39 cents, and overall these 316 euros and 17 cents averages out to 26 euros per month, which is very good compared to the years before. My Christmas budget also went down. My budget last year was 50 euros, but I ended up spending 880 euros instead. And this year I also kept the 500 euros budget, but this year I managed to spend only, I still overspent this year, but way less than last year. This year I spent 507 euros and 13 cents. This includes presents for family and friends, and presents for myself, because within my closest family, so parents, brother, and two of my friends, we did not give presents to each other, but we decided that we will spend that money on buying things for ourselves. So within this budget, it is also included that I bought things for myself. I bought 2 board games. For example, I got some bed sheets, I got a butter dish, I got a perfume, just some random things that I wanted anyway, and in this way I could get exactly what I wanted, rather than someone getting me something nice but maybe not exactly what I needed at this time. That means that my Christmas budget went down from 70 euros per month to 40 euros per month overall, which is very nice. And I was a little bit over the Christmas budget, but it's very little compared to last year, so overall this was perfect. The third category is clothing and accessories. So in the clothing and accessories budget category, this was actually a complete no spend year for clothing and accessories, except for 2 things that I already had on my wish list back in 2021, but I couldn't find them at that time, so I did purchase them at the beginning of 2022, and once that was done, then I was not allowed to spend from this budget category. Actually, I did spend on one thing, which was a suitcase that I use for my travels in the summer, and this was kind of an investment. It was a little bit, it was around 100 euros, I believe. So I took that out from my clothing and accessories budget, but is it really a clothing and accessory item? Not sure. It's more like I could have taken it from my travel budget, maybe. Maybe I should have put it under somewhere else. That was a necessary purchase. Other than that, I only purchased clothes for work, but that went from my work budget, and it was paid by someone else actually. So at the end of the day, it was not going from my own clothing category. And so this year I decluttered a few times. I have decluttering videos on my channel. If you are interested, then check them out. I really love to do wardrobe declutters, so there's a few different ones available on my channel. I was trying to kind of pare down my clothes collection. I feel like I don't have much clothes compared to other people that I see on social media and on YouTube doing declutters, for example. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like I still have too much clothes. So next year what I'm planning to do is not to start buying clothes mindlessly, but I rather want to invest in timeless quality pieces which will last me for a long time and that I actually need, that I feel like there is a hole in my wardrobe. For example, I definitely need black shoes for the in-between winter and summer season, which is definitely a piece that have been missing in my wardrobe for a while now, for a few years now actually. It's just last year I was not allowed to fill this hole. So now I'm gonna be on a lookout for something like that. And maybe, a few other pieces as well. I am actually looking forward to it, although I do realize that I don't like shopping. I really don't like to go into shops with a lot of people and just going through, you know, racks of clothes, and especially in these like stores where they are not very well organized. And this is a problem because thrifting is exactly that, right? If I want to buy secondhand, I would have to be very patient going through one by one on each item. And I feel like after one store, I'm already mentally and physically exhausted. So maybe I will just do it one by one. I always go to one store a day or something, but I don't know yet how I'm gonna do this. What I know is that I don't really want to do online shopping, even though it is becoming more and more attractive to me just because of the convenience of it. However, it is definitely not attractive if I have to send back the things, because then it's an extra effort that I don't want to get into. Plus, I might have to pay for it, and I'm afraid that an item will not fit. And maybe I can try it with dresses or tops, but I can definitely not do online shopping with pants, unless it's like the Levi's pants, the exact same ones that I already have, maybe in a different color, that I can order because I know it's gonna fit me. But everything else is just like with the length, it's just always a struggle to find the proper size pants for me. So we'll see how will that go. Yeah, so no buy went very well overall. For a long time I didn't purchase clothing items, and I didn't really miss it. I never really was in a situation where I was like, oh, I wish I could buy this or that, because I just didn't go shopping. Or even if I did go to stores because I went with friends or somehow I ended up there, I didn't really see anything that I really liked. Or if I did, they were so expensive and not that good quality where I could be able to justify the price, that I was like, okay, well, I'm not missing out on anything. Overall this year I saved over 500 euros in this budget category, and I'm gonna start purchasing ethically made or higher quality, more sustainable items from those in 2023 from that money, and I keep adding 50 euros per month to this budget. And I also sold a few things throughout the year, a few items, so overall I earned around 150 euros with all the sales that I did this year. So that's gonna be added to this budget and will be spent also on new clothes and accessories. I also need a new handbag. Yeah, I was already looked at a few. The one that I like was over 200 euros, and I'm not sure I'm ready to spend that money. I need to change my mindset about spending money. If it's a good quality item, then I should be able to splurge a little bit on it, shouldn't I? That was clothing. Skincare and hygiene is the fourth category in which I had a low buy this year. My monthly budget was 30 euros. And in December I spent 28 euros and 35 cents. So in December itself I was below the 30 euro budget. However, I was already over budget before. So overall I spent 383 euros and 5 euro cents in this budget category, which is 23 euros over the budgeted amount of 360 euros, which is 30 euros per month. So on average, I spent 32 euros a month throughout the year of 2022 on hygiene and makeup, skincare items. So that means that I'm not very way over the budget. It's only 2 euros. And also considering the inflation, I think this is an acceptable overspending of my budget. And yeah, I'm just gonna raise my budget maybe with 5 euros per month. That should be enough for the next year to be able to afford everything that I need. I'm still in the mindset of trying to minimize my skincare collection. I mean, I don't have a very extensive collection compared to other people that I see on social media. But sometimes I still feel like I have too many products that I just don't have the capacity to use. So at any given time, I should have less. I can change the products up throughout the year, but I have to finish everything or first before I change it, before I open something new. I'm still working on that, but I definitely minimized my collection already throughout 2022. And compared to last year in 2021, I spent 432 euros in this budget category. So this year I spent around 50 euros less overall. I guess I was still kind of buying the same type of products, the same kind of products, following the same patterns. I already have quite a few products that are my go-to, that I always just repurchase, and so this year I think I just want to figure out how often do I buy a certain thing, how often do I run out of certain things. If I run out of something quite frequently, then is it really worth it to buy it for a certain amount? But most of the products that I use, like single products in themselves, are not really expensive, except for a few things where I am investing in a bit more expensive products, but just really a few types of products are those, and everything else I'm keeping it quite simple and cheap and minimal. It's subjective what is extensive and what is minimal for people. So compared to a lot of people, I do have an extensive selection of skincare, but it's also because I have been struggling with multiple skin issues that I am trying to work on. At the same time, my makeup collection is quite small, so it fits into one makeup bag, I would say. So the fifth category, where I was doing the low buy / no buy, is the books and entertainment category. I need to kind of rename this budget category just to entertainment or something, because it includes theater, cinema, movies, sports, concerts, books, and so on. This year I was not allowed to buy any books, physical books, which I didn't do. I also didn't purchase any audiobooks, like additional ones where I would have to spend extra money. I had an annual subscription that I bought in 2021 December for 83 euros, and then this subscription was giving me 12 credits. I had some more credits or acquired credits throughout the year for free, so these subscription lasted me for the year. For audiobooks, I still have 9 audiobooks that I need to listen to before I restarted my subscription, which I stopped in November, so that's gonna last me at least 6 months, if not longer, and I'm pretty happy about that. I did not buy any books, but I got a lot of books, or like, not a lot, but I got a few books, maybe around 10 books even, maybe less, for free from these public bookshelves where people can bring books and take books from. So I was never out of reading material. I also had a lot of books already that I still need to read. So since I got a few new books, I also got books as presents. I still have a lot of books that I need to read, but that doesn't mean that next year I'm not going to buy new physical books, because I already have a few on my wish list that I would like to purchase, one of which is the physical book version of an audiobook that I listened to in December. This book is The Panic Years from Nell Frizzell. This book was an important read for me in December or November, December. It was really about a topic that is, to me at this time, quite apparent, quite important. A lot of things to think about, to think through regarding whether or not someone wants a child, and what are the pros and cons and all the things to consider. But it's also a lot about women in general, in their 20s and 30s or early 40s even, and all the hormonal changes and all the limitations that come with being a woman, and all the intricacies of being a woman compared to being a man, and how we are in a lot of ways, not equal to men, and are considered as a weaker gender, or like we have a lot of disadvantages overall in society. And genetically compared to men, like physically as well as in our careers. And there are so many facets of life in which we are disadvantaged compared to men. And so this book really talks a lot about this and all these facets of life and all these things to think about, how women are different than men, and how men should also understand this much more, because as I'm learning or as I'm exploring this topic, it really strikes me how men are totally unaware of most of the things that we as women have to go through that they don't, mentally and physically, and just living as a human person in our society today, that they just take for granted and never think about our side of it. And I do think that this book should be read by everyone, men, women included, especially those who ever want to have a child. But I think everyone, regardless if you want to have a child or not, this book should be a must read, because it talks about so many important questions, and these questions and these like discussions that she is incorporating in her book are so important to women, that those men who want to, you know, live with us and be supportive of us, but also just try to understand us, should be aware of. So yeah, please just read this book. And I know that a lot of people are criticizing this book, and I definitely don't fully agree with the 100% of how the book is written and what is written in it, and parts of it were maybe too extensive, but just to understand really better how women work, I think it's a very good start. Yeah, so that was one of the books that I finished this month, and I think that was the only book. No, and then I finished The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo from Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a very popular book in 2022. So I also kind of jumped on the bandwagon and listened to that audiobook. I'm not as impressed with this book as so many other people that I heard on YouTube were saying like, this is such a good book. I don't really understand the hype, but it was a good book. It was interesting, but I just don't understand the hype, I guess. But it wasn't a waste of time, I guess. And yeah, so how much did I spend this month? My budget for this entertainment category per month was €5, and I had €50 rollover from last year. And this month I spent over almost €25 in this budget category, which included 2 visits to the ice rink, so 2 times skating, but it also includes 1 sharpening of my skates, because it after 3 years it was about time that they get sharpened, I guess. So yeah, that was another few euros to do. Overall, I spent €25, and this is definitely over my monthly budget. And actually, together with all the other spending this year, and considering the €50 that was a rollover from last year, I went over budget. In this budget category, I spent €119.93 overall, which is €9.93 over the budget. And last year in 2021, I spent €146.67 in this budget category. So this year I spent definitely less. And I also didn't really buy physical books the year before, I guess. Now that I'm looking at my bookshelf, maybe a few, really just 1 or 2 books I bought in 2021. And then in 2022, none. This is a budget category that I'm going to raise for next year, because I want to be able to do more sports, go skating, go swimming, maybe even sign up for kind of a gym subscription. But maybe I will take that out, and I will have a budget just for sports separately from the entertainment budget, which kind of makes sense as well, because most of my books and entertainment budget this year went to the sports category. Actually, technology was the 6th item in my sixth category, my low buy / no buy in technology. I started the year with wanting to do a no buy, however, unfortunately, it did not happen because I had two technology or an electronic equipment that broke on me throughout the year. First it was my epilator that I had to replace. The replacement was around 65 euros or 70, and then I had to replace my phone. The replacement phone was 250 euros. So I spent over 300 euros in this budget category, even though I wanted to spend zero. So that didn't really work out. Next year I'm planning some purchases, some technology upgrades. I definitely would like to buy a new laptop, but that's gonna be a business expense, and maybe a few accessories to that as well. That is all business expense. And then I might also buy a camera to have better quality videos for my YouTube channel. This is something that I will figure out later this month, if it makes sense or not. I would like to upgrade my quality of videos, so tune in for that. And yeah, I am hoping that my phone will last me for the next year, so that I don't have to replace it. But it's a phone that I got secondhand, and the person before me already used it for 3 years, and I have been using this for 5 months now, so let's see how long it can last, but crossing my fingers. In the beginning of the year, in my intro to the no buy year, I said that I might buy a Vitamix for Christmas for myself, from my Christmas budget or from this technology budget, if I will be able to not spend anything in the technology budget. I didn't end up buying the Vitamix at the moment. I don't feel like that it's like a priority to me to have a Vitamix. It's probably also because I kind of didn't try to make those kind of food items that I would use the Vitamix for lately. I would love to make more nut butters, because I used to make them before and I really enjoyed them. But it's also a bit difficult when you're alone, and then if you don't finish it within a few days. So overall it's difficult. If I lived with someone and we used together the Vitamix, then it would make more sense. And the same applies to KitchenAid. Like I really like how it looks like, but I just don't have the justification to use it or to buy it, because I don't use it very often. But if I had it, I would probably use it more than now that I don't have anything like that. I actually sold one. I had a mixer, like a non-branded cheap version of a KitchenAid mixer, which I used once a year. And then, like, I didn't use it because it was bulky and loud, and then it fell apart the last time when I used it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell it. I sold it. But if I had a well-functioning one, then I would probably use it more, of course. It's just, yeah, it's very pricey. So it's an investment, definitely. Maybe when I move to my own apartment, then I can start buying these kind of things. Then it makes more sense when I have my own place, when I don't have to pay rent, and yeah. Well, I would probably have to pay a mortgage instead, but we'll see. That's really the future. That was the technology. And then supplies is the seventh category, so kitchen supplies and cleaning products and these kind of items. I had a budget of 20 euros per month, and I could stay within this budget. In the month of December, I spent 6 euros and 94 cents. I bought a strainer, or like a set of strainers, for 6 euros in Lidl, because my strainer was a bit old, so it needed a replacement. I didn't feel like it was safe anymore to use the old one. And I also got some salt for my dishwasher, and that's it for the month of December. In 2022, I spent overall 227 euros in this budget category. I budgeted 240, so I'm 13 euros below the total budget for the year. Yes, low buy completed. And in 2021, in the same budget category, I have spent 779 euros and 49 cents. So it's definitely way below this year. That probably also included some other things that I'm now not remembering. We were trying to equip a whole kitchen back home in Hungary, so that's why that amount was so high. And this year, I only replaced a few things in my kitchen. Didn't really get anything new or anything fancy, so yeah, that's why it's much lower. That's why it's a more reasonable amount. It's quite on the low side, these 20 euros per month. I would say maybe I will also raise the budget there a little bit so that I can get a few quality items there as well. And the cleaning, I clean most of the things in the apartment with sodium bicarbonate, with washing soda, with citric acid and water, and then I mix them in different ways, so the replacement of those is not expensive. Oh, and vinegar, of course. So of course I buy vinegar, I don't know, every month, maybe a liter. And maybe not every month, but every 2 months. That is even going from my grocery budget, but it costs maybe €1 or €1.50. So then furniture is the final budget category, furniture and decoration, home decor. My idea based on the video, the intro video, was to spend less than €500 this year on furniture. I ended up not spending that. Well, in February we finished, or my cousin, who is the carpenter who put together my wardrobe back home in Hungary, he finished it and he installed it, and we had to pay for it, but that went kind of outside of my budget because I received a payment for a job from a few years ago which was never paid, and I received the money finally in 2021. So that kind of covered the whole thing, the costs for the wardrobe there. So at the end, I didn't end up spending in this budget category in the furniture and home decor. This way, I managed to save almost €600 in this budget category. So that's good for the future. I'm starting a sinking fund, let's say, for furniture with that €600. And maybe I will finally get the bookshelves for the apartment back in Hungary. We'll see. And what I end up spending my money on this year, the money that I saved from spending very little on other physical items or other budget categories, I spent on travels, trips, holidays. Yeah, I went on a lot of trips this year, a lot of long weekend trips. Even in December I went on 2 trips. And I also booked my flight to travel to Malaysia in January for 2 weeks. So I also bought my flight ticket for that, which is, of course, coming from Europe. It's not a cheap expense, or not a few euros. So that is a bigger expense from the month of December. And overall throughout the year, definitely traveling and holidays and experiences was the goal to spend on, but I also saved money for the future. I am saving up to be able to pay a down payment for an apartment, which I still have to figure out how realistic it is for me even to want to buy something within the next few years, given that I'm self-employed and I just started my self-employment this year. So that's it. That was my low buy / no buy 2022. Thank you guys for tagging along for this whole journey. I hope it inspired you to do a low buy or no buy, maybe in 2023, or maybe just for a month or a week. You can adjust your rules to your liking. You can do a no buy only for clothes. You can do a no buy only for skincare if that's where you spend or tend to overspend. There is no set rules. Everyone is different. Everyone has different spending routines. Everyone has different ways of living. So you do you. And I just support and encourage to do this. Also because, like inflation is crazy. Everything is so expensive and our income is not growing as fast as it should or as the prices go up. So we definitely need to reach to different kind of solutions, and one solution to save money is to do a no buy in certain categories which are not necessary or you can afford to not spend on for a period of time because you have enough already. You can also do it with groceries if you have a lot of stuff in your pantry piled up and maybe some of it might even expire sometime soon. Then focus on using those up Some things that expired can actually be used after their expiration date, or not even expiration date, it's a best by date or used by date. And even eggs, like the other month, I got 10 eggs, and then somehow I still had 4 of them way past the date that was written as it should be used by. I think it was even a month after, and I just did the egg test with them. If they are still okay, they were still fine, so I ate them, and I'm still here. So I mean, as long as you can test if they are still edible, then it should be fine. Thank you very much for tagging along. I'm coming with a new video for next year, with planning for next year, with doing budgeting, with kind of goals and intentions for next year on Fridays. So subscribe to my channel if you would like to be notified. Click the bell button, and I hope to see you at my next videos. Until then, goodbye.